Hey, seventh graders, today's lesson is called Energy Storage Molecules and is really going to focus on that component of where energy storage molecules come from in an ecosystem to kind of lead us off into a little bit more knowledge about photosynthesis for our next lesson. So your learning targets are, I can identify 4 different ESMs and where they are found. You guys will also see how they circulate through the ecosystem and how they're made. Okay, so for your warm-up today, you guys first need to start by reading these little energy storage molecule cards. So you can see the first one on slide 2 is starch. So you guys can see who makes it, what it's made of, and what it's used for. Okay, you guys can also see a picture of the structure as well as some foods that you guys would find starch in. So it looks like we have a lot of pastas, breads, corns, things like that. Okay, moving on, our next one is glycogen. Obviously, it's something that's associated with meat and protein. This is what glycogen looks like. Again, you can see who it's made by, what it's made of, and the use. Okay, now we have glucose, made by, made of, and the use, and you guys can kind of see the structure. It's a lot smaller than the other ones we've looked at so far. And here are just a few places that you guys would find glucose, but you guys find glucose in quite a bit. And then finally, fat. So again, made by, made of, use. You guys can see how complicated different fats and fatty acids are. And obviously you guys would see these things in like oil, butters, stuff like that, as well as animal fat. All right, so after examining those 4 cards closely, you guys will fill out this data table on slide 6. Okay, so the 1, 2, 3, 4 represents those 4 different cards we just read about. So you guys are gonna kind of organize our information a little better so it's easier to compare and contrast what these ESMs have in common and how they are different. So what ESM is on the card, what is the ESM made of, summarize the use of your ESM in less than 5 words. So use 5 words or less on that. I don't want you guys writing a big sentence. You can just list 5 words if you wanted to, if that works best for you, or like a short little phrase using 5 or less words. And then where can you find your ESM? Where do you get it from? So you guys can kind of look at some of those pictures and tell where you might find it, or you guys could look up some more information outside of that if you wanted. Okay, then you guys will answer these 2 questions to finish up part 1. So what do all of these ESMs have in common? So there's a couple things that they have in common, but there's one main one that you guys will see and be able to focus on there. And then what differences do these ESMs have? Again, for those commonalities and those differences, look back on your table because everything's neatly organized there. So you can roll down and look what they're made of, look at the uses, or you can look at where you find them and see kind of how they're different or how they're similar. Okay? All right, moving on to part 2. You guys are going to use the sim to study ESMs in an ecosystem. So you guys will right-click and open up your link, and it will take you guys into the matter and energy. No, we are not using the iPad, unless, of course, you guys are using an iPad at home. Okay, and once you guys get this open, I want you guys to pause this video that you're listening to right now, and I want you guys just to mess around with the sim for about 5 minutes just to figure out how we use it. This isn't my favorite sim that Amplify has, but it is very useful to kind of see how ESMs cycle through an ecosystem. Okay, so I want you guys to pause right now, mess with this, figure it out, see what all you can do and change on it, and what kind of data you can collect on it for the next 5 minutes. Okay, all right, welcome back. You guys should have explored this sim and have some idea of how this works. I'm just going to show you a few things that I want you guys to keep track of for the next part of this activity. So obviously you need to hit play. I want to direct your attention to this little key at the top. So notice this teeny tiny little black dot represents carbon, and then notice your energy storage molecules. Okay, these are kind of little chocolate chip cookie looking things, but what are those little black dots inside of there? Okay, these little diamond-shaped things with the black dot inside represents carbon dioxide. So again, what do those little black dots inside each of those carbon dioxide molecules represent? So that's one thing I wanted to kind of show to you guys. But let's kind of jump back to our activity and look at our instructions for this activity. So observing energy storage molecules in an ecosystem with a partner. Obviously, you guys are doing this by yourself. Observe the sim and see if you can get any evidence to help you question where do energy storage molecules in an ecosystem come from. On one device, open the sim. On the other device, open the data table. Obviously, you guys will just have these open on your own. Observe the sim, paying attention to the movement of the energy storage molecules throughout the ecosystem. So again, those are those little chocolate chip cookies. So you guys can kind of look and just observe one little guy and watch where it goes. All right, I'm watching this one. Oh, there it went here. Okay, so just pay attention to kind of maybe watch one and see, and then come back and follow the pathway of another, or just watch in general the pathways that those energy storage molecules are taking. After you complete the table, answer the questions. Okay, so our questions are on the next slide here. You guys, again, kind of have this little data table to fill out, and then your questions are right here. Okay, so producers, are there any ESMs and producers? You guys are going to look at your sim and say, all right, here are my producers. Are there ESMs there? Well, they have a lot of ESMs there, so you guys would type yes right there. Do you have ESMs flowing in? So do we have ESMs coming in? Okay, if so, where are they coming from? That's what you really need to ask yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the answer to that is no. Okay, because where do you see any little chocolate chip cookie looking things coming into the plant? No, they're coming in right here, but what does that tell you about what producers are doing? Versus if we look at consumers, are they coming in? Yes, they're coming in through the producers. Okay, so think about that and make sure you guys kind of identify the difference with that. And then yes or no ESMs flowing out. Same kind of thing. If we look at producers, yes, we do have ESMs flowing out. Looks like they're going into the producers, but looks like they're also going into dead matter down here. Okay, so that kind of frames out your guys' first one. Does a producer have ESMs? Yes. Are they flowing in? No, they are not. Are they flowing out? Yes. Okay, so look at consumers, decomposers, dead matter, and then abiotic matter. And then moving on and answer these two questions. Where do ESMs first appear in the ecosystem? So if we were to kind of pick an origination point, where do those ESMs kind of appear? Where do you guys see them? Where do they originate from in that ecosystem? And then where do the ESMs and the ecosystem come from? So for the rest of the ecosystem, how do they get their ESMs? Where do they get them? Okay. All right. The image below, or third part, excuse me, the image below shows the same cell. So this is the same cell as this one right here, but they're at two different times. Okay, so you guys can kind of take a look. See, all right, here's that carbon dioxide. Here's water. This is chloroplast, energy storage molecules, oxygen. And again, these are little pictures caught at two different times. So your first question is to write a caption for this diagram to describe why you think the chloroplast at time 1 is different from the same chloroplast at time 2. So what do you think is happening in that little diagram that's giving you as those different pictures from time 1 and time 2? Based on the image, what do you think might be needed to make an ESM and a producer? So if you guys were kind of look at this as a recipe for a producer to make an ESM, what's needed for that? And then based on the image, what else is made in the process? So when making an ESM, there's other things that are produced other than ESMs. So what might those be? Okay, so again, look at that image to get the answers to those questions there. Finally, complete your wrap-up for the day. You have finished up this assignment, so do you have any questions, yes or no? As usual, if it is preventing you from completing this assignment, make sure you guys send me a message so I can help you out. And then 4, 3, 2, 1, how do you think you did? Okay, put a fork in it, it's done. Turn it in. I hope you guys are all having a great day.